Games, board games. I might be talking about how to start making a board game, but I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing, and then soon I might be ranting about how you might want to be beginning a game. People think about themes versus mechanism, and I think that that's an unnecessary schism between two things. It's like a dichotomy. Truth be told, it doesn't make sense to me. I think that we should gather inspiration from wherever you can and just go ahead and do whatever. And board games, inspiration, it's what I'm talking about. Board games and inspiration, I'm not going to shout. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. This is 10 a.m. UK time, and it's time for another Busy Beats and Board Game Bladder. As you just heard, I believe that inspiration can come from anywhere, mechanisms, themes. Why not think about all the other places that it could come from? Why limit yourself to these two things? That's ridiculous. But first, before I go into that, I will be having a quick chat and inviting you to share recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. So if I actually yesterday my phone was running out. I did a silly April the 1st thing where I just kind of said meaningless words. I said words, but there wasn't much content. I guess it was a surreal hypnotic ride through London. But as always, I went to playtest. We went to a new venue. We went to we were normal at Royal Festival Hall. Yesterday, we went to the National Theatre. Here you see Tristan and David King playing my competitive colouring in game. Here, Tristan is very upset because Tris is thinking that maybe this does not look the way that Tris wants it to look. Conversely, David's super excited and super happy with that bit that David's colouring in. And here, Tris looks quite determined. The whole point of this game, in case I haven't introduced it before, is two people take turns colouring in bits of a page. I decided that I would try it without dice, just picking whichever bit you want. I decided I'd try it doing 2 bits at a time, 2 adjacent bits. And I decided that I'd try 3 colors, so you get a choice of 3 colors as opposed to the usual 2. So actually, I was surprised by how well it worked. And going with 3 colors, no full strategy, that seemed to be really good. And so that was a delight. Hello, Timmy. It is lovely to see you. And hello, J Fool's Guard. It is lovely to see you as well. And I hope you are all generally well. What have you been up to recently? Except for playtesting my colouring in game, I also tested out something by Tristan, which was about developing peace culture, which is a really interesting game designed to provoke really insightful, important conversations. And so I really enjoyed that. Other than that, came home, cooked a dinner, and that was pretty much me. So yeah, what have you been up to? Hello, Alex. I hope that you are generally well. Let's talk about brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? Let's talk about inspiration. Why do you even want inspiration? Why is inspiration a brilliant thing? I think that, obviously inspiration, you want to get started. Without inspiration, you wouldn't have the genesis of anything. Inspiration might lead you to a new direction. And I think inspiration, the important thing is that it fills you with passion. It sparks a bit of joy, of love in your heart, that it makes itself something that you are ready to take part in, that you're ready to develop, that you're excited to keep working on. And inspiration can motivate you, can energize you, can bring about things that would not have existed without that inspiration. And yeah, that is that. So let's get to the main topic. How can you be inspired? Do you think that product market fit could be a source of inspiration? That is, yes, absolutely 100% it could. Yes. And feel free to comment, ask questions, follow all that stuff. But let's get to the main topic. The main topic is a quick rant, me saying, all those people say theme, mechanisms. No, no, no. I mean, look, Jeff Engelstein has this thing, I do neither, I do experience. And that's kind of, okay, it begets the question, what's his theme? Quite often when people talk about theme in board games, they don't even mean a real theme. Because to me, when I ask what themes does this movie have, what themes does this book have, I don't mean, it's set in a castle, or, I watched an entire film last night and it was called Murder Mystery. It was Adam Sandler and someone else who's quite famous, and there was, I would say that the themes of it, did it have any strong themes? I would say that the themes are getting through things by the skin of your teeth. The theme might be being okay at like murder mystery. It kind of suggests themes of deception and betrayal, but murder mystery is not a theme, it's a genre. And so I would say, yes, it's got themes of wrongful accusation, getting through things at the skin of your teeth, frivolity, but also then there's the question of the tone. What kind of tone does it have? Whereas when it gets to board games, it's like, this is a board game themed around space. This is a board game themed around people fighting over a historical island. This is a board game. That's not the theme. Like Spirit's Island, anyway, that's a side rant. So reductive nature of theme or mechanisms aside, even if you within theme, you could talk about what setting do you want for your game. Let's go with that. What characters are going to be in your game? What emotions do you want to impart? What lessons do you want people to take away from it? What do you want it to be frivolous? And you will have to make every decision along the way. The truth is, I don't think it matters when you make these decisions, as long as you have made those decisions before you finish. Hello, Rob. It is lovely to see you. And yes, steam elephants. Stream elephant? Yeah, steam elephants. Yep, absolutely. Like big steampunk. That should be a thing. I'm glad that you didn't say a theme. But, maybe we could think, okay, let's design a board game about steam elephants. What do we want that to be? Okay, do we want it to be a dexterity game where people are literally embodying these steam elephants? Maybe there are cards. Sometimes people are doing charades as steam elephants. Maybe you want a world in which steam elephants make sense, and people maybe are pummeling coal into this. Maybe it's about the sad life of the steam elephants, but steam elephants, it doesn't suggest sadness, it doesn't suggest seriousness, because it's such an out there concept. And yes, Rob, theme is setting. Absolutely, steam elephants could be a source of inspiration. That's the point. Anything could be a source of inspiration. Hello, Josie. It is lovely to see you. J Foles Guards, and hello, Matthew. It is lovely to see you. Been a while. J Foles Guard says, playtested my Leaf game and went to 2 Friday bars. Haven't been out partying for a long while. Anyway, so let's talk about my colouring in-game. Actually, this is interesting because that was directly inspired by Voyages. So I was kind of pondering the success of Voyages and, obviously the fact that my own print and play files aren't being that successful. And I thought, well, maybe the thing is that people don't like cutting out. That makes a lot of sense, right? I don't like cutting out. I don't want to cut out loads of cards. Whereas, if I've got something like Voyages, if I've got something like my forthcoming, it's definitely good enough to finish, colouring in game, then it's print that's out. All you need is some markers and maybe one dice. I'm not sure if the dice, you even need it, because we're deliberating on the luck version versus the no luck version. I think it's a matter of taste, and maybe I want to propose both rules. Anyway, so the point is that I saw that and I was wandering around the park. I was walking around, I was doing a bit of exercise and kind of pondering this and thinking, okay, so what could I make? And I was also inspired by Ellie Dix's colouring in games. And I was thinking, could there be a colouring in game where, could I make a colouring in game maybe? Is that something that I have in me? Something that maybe one sheet, maybe it's for multiple players, maybe, how would you have colouring in? How would you have the colouring in matter? Because a lot of colouring in games, it doesn't matter whether it's that colour or whether it's numbers, really. It's mainly about set collection. So how would I make colouring in be really about the colouring in, about the picture? And so then what I thought is, let's have two pictures. Maybe you've got a grid, maybe you've got two people who are colouring in bits, and then they try to make it look like their own thing. That seems like an interesting idea, trying to make it look like your own thing. And then how would you find out the result? How would you decide who was the winner? Because it's incredibly subjective. Well, then you have to go to find an outside judge. Okay, how are you going to decide which bit to colour in? Maybe you roll a die, maybe the bits are numbered, maybe they're in horizontal sections, and that's how I started. And that was a good inspiration for it. And Solo Tactical Draws, thank you for following. I do appreciate it. Anyway, the point is that looking at other games, it's not stealing, by any means. It's evolved so much. And if I want to look at another game of mine that came directly from another game, Flux has been such a big source of inspiration for me. Shout out to Flux and Looney and Drew Looney. Lovely game, and it's not my favorite game, but the way that I started working on my first published game was to say, hey, what if you got to the bottom and then that was the end of the game, and I make it even more unfair, and then it's all about balancing these cards and having a certain number of cards in your hand, but then one of the cards caused you to stand up, and that card developed in a bind, which is now known as Yogi. The point is that whatever your inspiration is, you don't need to be beholden to it. If you start off saying, I want to do steam elephants, maybe you start off making a game about steam elephants, and then later on you realize, hey, wait a minute, I don't really want this. I want to make it about the steam zoo. And really, I want to have, like, okay, maybe we've got the steam elephants and the steam giraffes and the steam lions. Maybe this is in a world after extinction where they've got robots, and then the robots are kind of filling the zoo. And maybe eventually you realize that the other animals have certain qualities, and then you drop the elephants. But that doesn't matter. The point is that the inspiration, it's there to get you started. That's the only thing that matters with inspiration. That it leads to something else. It doesn't matter if you are carrying on with that inspiration the whole way through. You don't need to. It doesn't matter whether it's, I wrote a list down below. So yeah, components where you're like, okay, maybe I want to just make a certain number of cards. Maybe I want to have an entire gadget. Adam Porter from Wales had a video recently about really cool gadgets and what's going on, and saying, oh, maybe we could be inspired by a gadget, and maybe we could be inspired by this. Maybe we could be inspired by the moment of, okay, a moment of betrayal. Maybe we want to impart a message. Seize the Power came about because, firstly, yes, there was a mechanical aspect that I was intrigued by, of people controlling the rules of the game. But secondly, that this, after Tiz Creel had done some talks at BG DevCon, then we chatted to each other. Well, I pondered it and I thought, hey, wait a minute, this does actually tie in very nicely into the theme of discrimination. And that was the theme. That was very much the theme. Like that is a game with a strong theme of discrimination and corruption and subjugation of power, and everything kind of follows that. So when I had a meeting with Inside the Box a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, hey, maybe we want to make the auctions much easier, where maybe we want to actually remove this part of the game because it's, and I was like, you know what, I really enjoyed that, but that's not the core part of the game. And look, the core part of the game, again, let me restate this, your inspiration does not need to be in the final product, but every so often it's worth reassessing your internal mission statements. What do you want this game to be? What is worthwhile about this? And that should carry through. So now I've got this game about colouring in, it's competitive colouring in, and that is the thing that really matters. The thing that really matters is that at the end, you've got this picture and you show it to someone else, and it's all about thinking, hey, how will the shapes that I colour potentially make a picture that someone else will perceive as the thing that I want them to perceive? And that was decided within the first wee bit, but then conversely, Yogi, the notion of it being physical was only decided after the first playtest. The notion of it being about escalating more and more things, and about the incremental difficulty that you get when you not only have to touch your nose, but you also have to touch your ear, and you have to keep two hands touching suddenly with just 3 cards. And that is the main bit of Yogi, the incremental difficulty, the fact that 1 is easy, 2 is tricky, and 3, 4, 5, now you're struggling to survive. And that didn't come about until, a few playtests along. Josie wants to know some other random things that people have pulled inspiration from. So if anyone in the chat would like to give details about where their inspiration came from. I mean, since Matthew's there, I don't know if people have seen the new Voyages designer diary from Rory, where Rory talks about how it was because, hey, there's 6 directions in a hexagon, and you roll a die, and there's 6 numbers. Interesting. How would that work? And then Rory had to spark, it was the urgency, it was the thing that got Rory doing it. So, yeah, we talked about components and a moment, a message to impart. Let's talk about player count. Maybe you think, oh, I really want this to be for a particular player count. Mickle and Muckle, many a Mickle makes Muckle, were inspired by Gil Hova's essay on multiplayer solitaire. I just wanted to make a multiplayer solitaire game for the L deck. I wanted to have, and so what did that mean? That meant that everyone should be able to, and to load tactical draws. No worries. It's, if you look at the bottom, it will always give you in description. We are talking about inspiration. Welcome to the stream, and I hope that you are well. Feel free to share your favorite game or what you're working on, and I hope that you have a lovely day. Anyway, so yeah, oh yeah, many Mickle makes a Muckle. So I thought, what does that mean? What does multiplayer solitaire mean? Well, ideally, everyone has the same order of things. With the L deck, I can say, okay, here's the AP card, and then everyone grabs the AP cards, and then here's the SG card, then everyone grabs that. So maybe, now everyone's got 1 at a time. What do they do? Maybe that 1 adds to their hand, and so it's got to be a game where the deck order matters a lot. You've got to be drawing 1 card at a time to facilitate a caller, and everyone to be doing exactly the same thing, and then to compare their scores at the end. And I started off with a game about trying to put things into sets based on the suits of the cards, and then I eventually worked out a word game where, okay, you're putting things at the end. Oh, maybe if you're working on more than 1 word, that may work. And oh, maybe if you're allowed to stop or keep going, and that's a decision. Oh, maybe that works. And maybe we need some sort of push your luck mechanism where you get some points for, like 1 point for a 3-letter word, but then if you go to like 5 letters, then you get proportionally more points, and if you go to 8 letters, then you get all the cards as a point. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio of cards used for, and it kind of evolved. It came from again, that is an inspiration that carried on all the way. And the name. So like here we've got the name. So this is Abandon All Artichokes, is the most famous game for name first design. Emma Larkins is a big, obviously that's a cool game. It sold a lot, justifiably. It's a great deck ricker where one day Emma was just like, oh, what's some cool names that I could have? How about Contain Your Quantallopes, Abandon All Artichokes? And then so many people said, oh, Abandon All Artichokes. I really like the sound of that. I would buy that. And so there was no game. So that's a good suggestion that it's actually worth making. At which point it's a question of, okay, what kind of game is it? Well, maybe you start off with artichokes and then you get rid of them. Maybe it's kind of like a deck wrecker instead of a deck builder. That's an interesting idea, right? And then it kind of evolves. And congratulations to Emma Larkins. And similarly for me, for the L deck games, once I figured out, okay, it's Wibble, Phrasal, Fable, Alphabetical, and Grabble. Those were the original 5 games that I was very much working on. And then I thought, okay, what else can we have? Well, there should be Puzzle. That's an obvious name. There should be Couple. That would be a good name for a game. As long as it's for only 2 players. As long as maybe it should be played by a couple of people, like maybe an actual couple. It should be cooperative, right? Because it's called Couple. Maybe it's a game that you literally play when you're spooning. And so the original design was actually one person, because one person's the big spoon and they can only see their cards, and the other person, well, they can see all the cards, but then the little spoon can only see their own cards, if you see what I mean. So it's asymmetric information. But then there's a kind of caring, and you're trying to help the little spoon make words. But then it didn't work out so well because that asymmetry of power felt a bit icky and gross. And so, so I kind of changed it to kind of be more symmetrical. And then I was playing, and then I carried on doing a lot of testing. I don't want to understate the amount of work and iteration that went into it. But then I was playing it in a board game shop in Edinburgh, and I taught it to the owner of the shop as one of the games that would be coming at some points in the future. And then naturally we put our points piles separately. Originally, the points piles were all together, and then as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, interesting. Maybe that makes sense. Like, we are separate, but then we need to be identical. Yes, because we need to take care of each other, and so we need to be on an equal footing. So now it becomes Couple is a game about a functional couple who is trying to have a relationship where there's no imbalance of power, where you're giving, you're never taking. You can give stuff which could benefit you. You can move the other person's stuff, so you're really taking care of them. And so you could say, arguably, that there's a little bit of codependency if you want to draw too many parallels, but everything came from that one inspiration. So then there's the other thing, like, at what point should you ditch your inspiration? And honestly, as soon as you find a more interesting path. Anyway, that's pretty much the end of my rant. Yeah, like, there's no theme versus mechanism dichotomy, and think about the shape of a tile. Think about, could pentagons tessellate in an interesting way? What other interesting tessellations could there be? Maybe I look at part of another game and I think, could that apply to my game? I mean, this morning I was kind of pondering Santorini and thinking about those god powers and thinking about whether that could work in my competitive colouring in game. And I decided, yes, it absolutely could. But I also decided that I should leave the base version like as it is, because then that also gets away from the joy of the purity of the initial colouring in. But it absolutely could have like some cool one-time effects. And then, hey, what if on your turn, this turn, the point is, look at everything, consider everything, ponder everything, think about the moment of joy, any valuable moment, a moment of introspection as people realize, wait a minute, did I really see that? Think about a really nice bit of art that you want to show. I mean, Ryan Lockhart's designer of Above and Below and a whole bunch of other games says that when they start by designing the cover art for it, which is really cool. And I think that the point is whatever inspires you, because everyone is different. But as you ponder board games more and more, as you ponder any artistic medium more and more, you will be better able to translate those things into your chosen artistic medium. So yeah, there you go. If you are in the chat, have you ever let me and hello Black Sheep, it is lovely to see you. And J. Folsgard suggests another inspiration could be what kind of fantasy could be fun to play out. Like there's lots of, arguably toxic masculine power fantasies, but there's also maybe the fantasy of two people, literary characters like maybe Lucy and Bodhiciea getting together to solve a puzzle. Maybe that's what you really want to have happen. Or maybe you're like, oh, I wish I could fly. What would that be like? That's an interesting thing. Like what, or maybe it's like, what would you like to learn more about? Would you like to learn more about butterflies? Is there a really cool thing about butterflies that's going on? Or would you like to really make a cool game that discusses the life cycle of an elephant? Like not a steam elephant, an actual elephant. Whatever the inspiration, I wish all the game designers out there success in their game design, and anyone who's just enjoying games, I hope that this has been interesting to you. So before I finish, I like to ask everyone a question. Question of the day. Here's a little question before we go on our way. So my question is going to be, do you like elephants? What do you like about elephants? I've never seen an elephant in real life. Have you seen an elephant in real life? I like the way that they kind of go. I like the fact that they seem like quite gentle creatures, but then they're really big, and in a sense they're kind of fragile because they can't actually jump. I think elephants are really majestic. But yeah, I like elephants. I think they seem really cool. I'd like to kind of, yeah. So that is my question to everyone else. Tactical Draws also has a question. I've been looking into some fun, unique board games to buy for the house. We usually have a large gathering every Wednesday or Saturday. Would be great to play something other than just the typical card games or poker. And apparently there are 4 to 6 people in the group. And I'm glad you like elephants. Tactical Draws, yeah. But if you're not super fussed about elephants, that's also okay. We can still be friends. So a game for 4 to 6 players. At this point, if I were to give you a recommendation for a game, I would be like, okay, what kind of experience do you want? Do you want to be thinking and pondering? Do you want to be learning a lot of rules that you then have to negotiate? Do you want to have something where it's focused on the rules and the mechanisms and what you're doing in front of you? Or do you want to have something where it's a bit more extroverted, where it's maybe focusing on the people, and the people are maybe acting out things or being silly, or you're guessing what other people might say at a certain point? Yeah, because there's so, and are you wanting something competitive or are you wanting something cooperative? So Rob says, elephants are awesome, whether steam powered or not. J. Folsgard recommends Railroad Inc. Yeah, that's a good game for 4 players. I would totally get behind that. I would, where are you based, Tactical Draws? Also, where do you live? Because this might depends on whether I recommend my own games to you. And Time Roller, lovely to see you. So yes, Tactical Draws. Where are you in the UK? Okay, if you're based in the UK, then egocentrically, I am going to suggest that you buy, um, um, yeah, a game about wee whimsical creatures and trying to identify them after someone makes noises. I think it works really well for 4 players. I think that yeah, Yogi works well for 4 players. That's obviously my own thing. I'm also yeah. Skull is a nice, simple thing where it's all about guessing whether people have put down a skull or a rose, and yeah. Although it wasn't just 4, it was 4 to 6. Yeah, 4 to 6. Yeah, 4 to 6 works really well for a game about wee whimsical creatures and trying to identify them after someone makes noises. Yeah, Skull works nicely for that. Zero is quite a simple game. All of these games I would suggest like look them up on Board Game Geek. I'm trying to think what was the last actual published game that I played. If you really like, this is quite an expensive one, but if you like in-depth games, if you like learning rules, if you like playing the same game a lot of times, I would actually suggest Root. Again, this is one for only if you actually like learning rules and thinking about, oh wow, this faction, because there's in the basic game there's 4 different factions, and then you need to buy an expansion for getting up to 6 players. But the basic factions, you've got the cats who have lots of pieces on the board, and it's a war game where the cats are trying to dominate, and then the birds start off with a small empire, but then they're spreading out quickly. And everything that the birds do, you're obligated to do every single turn. The vagabond is roaming around doing their own thing, trying to, turn people against each other, potentially giving people gifts that hopefully it's not too good a gift, but then by giving people gifts, then you get points for yourself, which can be quite exciting. And then you've got the Uprising, the little woodland alliance, who starts with nothing on the board, but then they put little pieces and say as soon as anyone else comes in, then they get sympathy. And as soon as they're getting sympathy, then they're going to start an uprising. And the whole Woodland Alliance is all about getting that uprising going on. And then if you go to 5 or 6 players, I would recommend the Riverfolk expansion, because there's the Riverfolk then charge people money, so then you get into the trading. I love Root. That's definitely one of my favorite games. Yeah, it's so difficult because I can't say. You know what? At some point, maybe if you ask again on a different day, or if you ask in my Discord, then I will do it at some points in the future. Although my next week and a bit is kind of spoken for, but yeah, I will try and do some sorts of a bunch of recommendations. I don't like doing top 10s, but I might call it a top 10. But yeah, if that sounds cool, then check that out. So yes, Josie's Skull is brilliant. I definitely recommend Skull. You will find it quite simple, quite engrossing. It's all about the people. It's all about reading the people. It's all about saying, oh, what's that person done? It's all about the mind games. Happy Saturday to you as well, Adam. This is going to be a short show. I am going to finish in just a moment. Oh, that's a good suggestion as well. If you want to try games for free, Board Game Arena does have quite a few ones. I've personally stopped playing there for I kind of played so much over Christmas, but yep. The Steam app is indeed pretty good, and it does cost money off the Steam, buying it on Steam, but that is a nice way to learn. And if you prefer learning by doing rather than learning by reading rules. The Steam app allows you to essentially play a few things. J Fool's Guard says, I played a game about wee whimsical creatures and trying to identify them after someone makes noises yesterday. It was a hit. That is delightful to hear. How many did you play it with? And yeah, I'm really encouraged to hear that. Oh, yes. More votes for Skull, more votes for Root. Some other suggestions. Sheriff of Nottingham. Yeah, that's an interesting deception game. I find that Sheriff of Nottingham can go a little bit long for my tastes, but then I'm easily bored. One Night Ultimate Werewolf. Oh, I absolutely adore this. This is definitely one of my favorites. I love how One Night Ultimate Werewolf, similar to, I was going to say Magic the Gathering, but then Magic the Gathering, you need to pay so much money. But like, kind of like that, you've got so many ways of tailoring your own experience. If you want a simple experience, play with the villagers and the werewolves and a couple of other roles. If you want a more involved experience, start getting rid of the villagers and bringing in more interesting roles. And I would say that for me, One Night Ultimate Werewolf, get that. And then if you're really enjoying it, get One Night Ultimate Werewolf Daybreak. And then do Vampire and Alien expansion. Don't bother with them. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I do actually have the Alien expansion. I've got the I've forgotten the name of it. It's like Epic Battle. I got the French version, but yeah, I would Bang the Dice game. That's the first one that I've not played myself, so I cannot comment on that. But I have heard good things. As all of these, yes, I'm glad that you've got some ideas, and so yes, feel free to check them out. And as I said, let me actually put my banner at the bottom. If you want to check me out, then if you want to buy my wee whimsical creatures, stuffwithbeds.bigcurtle.com. If you want to get my join my Discord, go to stuffbybeds.com/Discord. And let's move on over to you. What are you up to? You can share, but only if you want to. What are you up to today? What are you going to do? What are you excited to do? What are you dreading doing, but you have to do anyway? And if you tell us in the comments, then maybe you will be more inspired to do it and you'll have more energy, and I can verbally kick your posterior and get you motivated, maybe. So, what are you doing? Anything you want to share? I promise that you care. So, I am personally going to finish putting on clothes because I've had my shower, which is why when I shower, I bunch up my hair, which is why I kind of took this off. But yeah, now, anyway, so I'm going to probably put in another couple of layers because I think that it's probably going to still be fairly chilly outside. Cycle over to Somerset House, and I am joining a long game jam. I'm super excited by it. I'm hoping to actually be getting out within a few minutes of finishing this up. That's what I'm up to. I'm excited by it. I'm probably also going to, take some peanuts and oatcakes with me, have a few snacks in case I don't have snacks there. So, what are you up to? Let's see. J-Fool's Guard says, hello, Jess. It is lovely to see you. J-Fool's Guard says, speaking of roots and inspiration, I made my own spider faction because I was kind of wondering what creatures would live in the forests on the board. That sounds interesting. And Alex is working. Oh, Jess is packing after a bit of walking and then flying to the UK. It is very cold just now. We have our third winter. J-Fool's Guard taking the bike to be fixed. That sounds awesome. Yeah, fingers crossed for you. Alex walking later, however much the bike stuff costs, it's worth having a bike. Going to the car wash. But without the funky music, and this evening hopefully playing a board game. Lovely. Thank you. Enjoy the jam. And Jess, yes, it would be lovely to see you. Let me know when you're around and when you're actually in London. Josie needs to rearrange some shelves, as needs some space for the smaller games, as the cat has decided that he likes to climb on them and knock them off their current shelf. time roller, got rolling shelves, got to move everything out of the room to build them. Wow. And so lots of people doing stuff. And Jess wants to give a shout out to my old bed in the place where I used to live. You are welcome, Jess. I'm glad that you enjoyed that nap. So, to recap and wrap up before we finish up, I started off talking about my game about colouring in. This is going to be coming your way soon, probably in a week and a half. Let's say in 2 weeks. Definitely, I will have the rules ready for remote testing. So if you're interested in playtesting a game about competitive colouring in and taking turns, 2 people only, taking turns to try and make the bit of paper look like your objective, and then you show it to someone else, either online or in person, then please do let me know. And it would be lovely to have you help me playtest that. I talked about the joys of playtesting, about our new venue. I talked about the inspiration is brilliant because it gets you excited. It makes something exist that might not have otherwise existed, and it gives you motivation. Hopefully, the key thing about the inspiration is that it fills your heart with passion and love and excitement. At any point, you can get rid of the inspiration. If your initial inspiration was steam elephants, so be it. But then you don't need to be all about steam elephants. Maybe your final product, really, this is about steam elephants? No, it's not. In the same way that I think that if people were to look at Yogi and say, really, this was inspired by Flux? No, it moves away. But along the way, you start off with your inspiration, whether that's the components, whether that's the name, whether that's a moment you want to have, whether that's an animal that you think is cool and you want to make a game about it, whether it's a relationship between the people at the table and you want to explore that storytelling ability, whatever that inspiration is, along the way, just constantly ask yourself, is this still cool? What am I excited about? What is worthwhile in this game? And focus on the thing that's worthwhile. Keep on going, make good games. We had a lovely chat about some games that might be good for 4 to 6 players, and that is pretty much it. As always, if you want to check me out, I am Stuff by Bez on all the places, Twitter, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. If you want to check out what I'm going to be streaming about, check out stuffbybez.com/streams. I am going to be at the design camp for the next week, and then Now Play This, which will, what's the word I'm looking for? Which will flavor lots of things for the next 8 days. I do have Adam Best talking about charity and Giants games on Tuesday. I do have Alan Paul on Thursday. Friday will definitely be a very quick show, but generally, I am, as always, going to be streaming every day, 10 a.m. UK time, and check the name, and that will hopefully give you enough of an idea about what I'm going to be talking about. Share, spread the word, and thank you everyone for joining in. It's been a lovely delight. I guess I should raid, so thank you everyone. Yeah, don't forget to have fun. That is a good shout. So I will I'm going to check out who is on stream so I can maybe Mika Rose. Let's go to Mika Rose music and let me check out. Yeah, let's check them out. And so if you like music, then copy paste this raid message and we will go to raid. For now, lots of love and bye 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye bye everyone, and have a wonderful day. and lots of love. Bye-bye, Rob. Bye-bye, J Fools Guard. Bye-bye, Jess. Bye-bye, Josie. Yeah. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.